Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is the one, the only, the irreplaceable Steve Baxey.
Hello.
Yeah, I bet you didn't know you were irreplaceable. Huh?
I did not know that. I feel very good about that.
Yeah, there's no one else who just inspires such rage as Steve
There are
Baxey.
people that hate things the way I hate them.
Yeah, it's a very particular kind of dispassionate but yet invigorated hatred.
Exactly.
Yeah. And joining us once again, sniveling in the corner, is one Mr. Connor Nielsen.
I come with a receipt, so you can replace me.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Connor is by far the most replaceable member of Geeky Gentlemen. My problem with Connor when he was in Who Reviews the Reviewers was like, God, this guy's so basic. He's just like white bread. And my opinion on Connor has not changed in the slightest. He is the epitome of bland and obvious reviewing. So, Connor's.
Yeah, I mean, that Birdman video you did was kind of like cemented your reputation for life of just kind of like talking to a camera and doing nothing clever with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of jump cuts, but yeah.
Yeah, yep, indeed. Okay, but anyway, tonight we're getting into kind of an interesting grounds of topic. So I'm not sure if both of you are aware, but DC, who does their direct-to-DVD animated films line, is going to be putting out an animated adaptation of Gotham by Gaslight, which, you know, I haven't seen anything for it yet. I just saw their other trailer for something that's coming out, Batman Harley Quinn. That looks awful.
Yep,
So,
that looks like garbage.
Yeah, so I'm not like super excited for it, but that's a decision. Doing Gotham by Gaslight is a decision that makes perfect sense for what they're trying to do, which is to just adapt a short, standalone story that works really well, or could work really well on its own, in a wider context, and just do it as an animated film. It's short, it's done, there's not a ton of material you have to cover with it. I think that's a great decision for them to adapt. Whether or not it's going to work out well is another story, but I think it's a good starting ground. And so it inspired this idea of what other stories in DC's library should they consider adapting to animated films. And so today we're going to do a top 10 list that's not really a top 10 list, but top 10 lists get clicks, so we're going to do a top 10 list of each of our top 3 plus an honorable mention. We're going to start with the honorable mention and then amongst ourselves decide which one deserves it the most, okay?
Cool.
But is everyone clear on the premise?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. There will be no bananas necessary.
Damn it.
Yeah. Okay, so who wants to start us off?
I can go ahead and go first.
Alright, Steve Baxey, what is your honorable mention?
So this is one that, like, this is a story I really, really love. I reread it every Christmas. But part of the reason it's an honorable mention and not part of my main top 3 or even like a top 5 is that DC has adapted movies with very particular art, and they always suck when it comes to the animation. So this is a story with very particular art that I don't think they could genuinely pull off, which is why it's lower. It's Batman Noel.
Oh.
Ooh.
I love Batman Noel. I love every Christmas Carol story just because I'm dumb and I love Christmas Carol stories. But Batman Noel is like legitimately one of the best Christmas Carol adaptations we've done. It's just short enough to be where it needs to be. It's just long enough to be where it needs to be for a 75-minute animated movie. It's unique and completely differently structured than the rest of the movies they've made, and it's just kind of fun and a nuanced way to do that story. The only issue is how do you animate Lee Bermejo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And see, that's interesting, because I know you really liked Justice League New Frontier, and I thought they did a fairly good job of adapting Darwin Cook's art.
Oh, for sure, but Darwin Cook's art is built in some ways to be animated. It's not very hard to get those figures.
It's minimalist, yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't do it with Brian Bolland. We couldn't do it with even fucking the guy who drew the original Supergirl story in Batman vs Superman that became the Apocalypse story. Philip Tan, I think. Yeah, I think it's Philip Tan. We couldn't do his art. Dark Knight Returns just looks atrocious by comparison.
It's interesting because you could almost get away... I don't know, it could be weird. It could look like the early 2000s CGI Spider-Man, but you could almost get away with having Bermejo redo his character designs as textures for CG models. You could...
Do you think they dish out the cash for that?
Probably not, but... Steve, here's the news for you. No one at DC is going to watch this video. These are not projects that are actually going to happen.
But they should.
Sure. And in this world where they should, they will actually dish out the cash to have Lee Bermejo come in and redo his character designs as 3D models, and they'll go through and 3D animate it in a way that looks good.
And that's the other thing with this is, Lee Bermejo has a very particular take on a lot of the costumes in that story that I would love to see in animation. The Noel Batman costume with the tiny bells on it is just fucking fantastic.
See, I'm still yet to read that. I really need to. I'm still yet to read that thing.
I would love to know what your take on it is, because I love it. I think it's just a really beautiful story. It's so much fun. Batman is Scrooge. That's the whole premise, is Batman is Scrooge. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it would be interesting to get a Christmas movie out of this, these animated DC things. I think that's something that I can definitely agree with you. That'd be a cool thing for them to do.
Yeah.
Connor, any thoughts on this, or are you just gonna chill?
I also haven't read Batman Noel. I do like Lee Bermejo's style a lot. I think that'd be an interesting approach to break into the Christmas animated movie with a Christmas Carol story. I can't help but feel like the animation would look very similar to the Killing Joke art style.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Brian Bolland and Lee Bermejo, their art has very similar line work. So, I mean, or at least like a figuring. So, I think
they did
cool.
with Gotham Knight, they did the anime Batman thing. That would probably be a better team to go to for the animation side of stuff, because they would probably have better luck capturing.
Well, if you're going to pull an anime studio to do this, Madhouse would probably be the obvious choice, but they haven't been... They're too clean. You see, this is the problem with anime in general lately, animation-wise, is that we went from having really good animation that had kind of a dirty, grimy look to it, to having excellent animation that looks too clean. Mm-hmm. And Noel, I don't know, I don't want it to look clean.
Gotcha. No, they put a lot more work into the character designs and stuff like that, and anime-related things. So that might be a studio to go to or something too. But yeah, interesting idea.
The Crossfire short in Gotham Knight looks fantastic.
Totally. Yeah. I don't like Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, in Gotham dressed as Batman.
No, neither do
I. Otherwise, everything in that looked amazing. That one character, the rest of that short looks fine. It's just Batman's character design. He looks like Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Okay. Connor, what was your honorable mention?
My honorable mention, and I'm putting this as an honorable mention because this story isn't done yet. It is Gerard Way and Nick Darrington's inaugural arc on Doom Patrol. I think that a lot of that is inspired by the stuff that Grant Morrison did on his run on Doom Patrol, but it has an animation style that is more friendly to the kind of animation that DC Animation likes to do. I think that it can also sell trades pretty well and get more of an audience to this particular title. And I think that it will also turn people on to the Grant Morrison stuff, because through the Gerard Way stuff, they will have a portal to that older work.
I love Morrison's Doom Patrol, and I've only read the first couple issues of Gerard Ways, but I really liked what I saw of that.
I'm loving it. I think Doom Patrol is a team that is awesome and that is sorely underappreciated. And if you were to give me the keys to make a DC film, like an actual live action movie, I'd make an out of continuity Doom Patrol film.
See, I would love that so much. Doom Patrol is a really great concept. They never really did anything great with that set of characters.
Yeah, if I had to make a trilogy, I'd make Doom Patrol, The Losers, and the original. Challenges of the Unknown, and then the original World War II Suicide Squad. I would make like a period piece trilogy.
That'd be really fun.
Okay. See, and I've not a ton of information on Doom Patrol. I haven't been reading the new book, much to Connor's chagrin. It's just one of those things I'd never heard of until recently, even though Grant Morrison was involved. The man's got his fingers in everything, including the creation of the universe, so can you blame me? So no, but I could see it. Suicide Squad's very popular. To show kind of like the alternative to Suicide Squad kind of thing could be interesting too.
I love the concept of Suicide Squad so much, but I hate that we've made it into what it is. Ever since the beginning of the New 52, I just don't like its aesthetic. I don't like its approach. Yeah.
It's not really Suicide Squad anymore. It kind of Suicide Squad, with the way Ostrander put it, is a very particular kind of book, and we just don't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It is so frustrating.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we'll go on to mine, and that is a story arc that we've actually reviewed here on Geeky Gentlemen in the past. And that's The Joker's Last Laugh.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, it's just short enough, and you can cut enough out of it that it would be fine and no one would complain. And it's not a perfect story or anything, but it's a really, really good Joker. It's one of the best ways the Joker has ever been written, and it ends on just such a fucking downer, and I love it so much. It's got the right kind of the thing about writing the Joker that a lot of people miss is he actually needs to be funny, but not in a he tells puns kind of way. In a way where the things he does are really messed up, but undeniably make you laugh, and then make you stop laughing and go, holy shit, I shouldn't be laughing at this, that's fucked up. And the Joker's Last Laugh just perfectly captures everything about that, especially at the end there, during the fight with Nightwing, Joker having all the costume changes. I mean, tell me you would not kill to see an animated Joker doing the speech from Patton. Just everything about that is amazing. He literally lights the world on fire in this story. It's the greatest thing ever. It is seriously the greatest thing ever. You get, there's so much variety there, too. It's so much fun to see just to see the animations of all these DC villains character designed as Jokerized. That would be really fun because that's a big subplot of the thing. It technically would be a Justice League movie, so it's something DC would actually consider doing. I don't know. I think it could be a lot of fun and just super enjoyable in the right kind of way.
And with their whole R-rated animated movie kick, they might be able to get away with more with that book, because you probably wouldn't have been able to done it pre-Killing Joke.
Probably not, and it would be good to see them do a just an arguably good Joker movie.
Yeah,
I would really appreciate seeing that. For example, man, I love that story so much. It is in my top 5 Joker stories, even though it's not the greatest thing ever. But it tries to be. It tries to be the greatest thing ever, and it gets damn close.
My biggest critique of that whole book is often that the tie-ins are ridiculous and you don't need any of them.
No, you don't. That's why you just read the main event book, and it's fine. I've never read a single tie-in to that run. I've only read the
so
6th
Nightwing
issue.
and Robin ongoings both have tie-ins to that book, and they're just awful. Man of Steel had a tie-in to that book, and it's just awful.
Are there any events outside of Convergence where the tie-ins are like at all good?
It's, Final Crisis.
Crisis? Okay.
And I mean, I enjoyed the Flashpoint tie-ins more than the Flashpoint event, if that
I
makes
think
sense.
that's the consensus on that book.
Yeah, it's like it was like a whole month or two of Elseworlds, basically, so that was fun.
And they all had really cool premises that were underexplored in only 3 issues, so...
Yeah, so, it's whatever, but I enjoyed the tie-ins for that more than I did the actual story. And
Final Crisis is one of those things where, like, the tie-ins kind of are the story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't
So
get quite
I've
as
never
much.
read any of the tie-ins for Final Crisis outside of Superman Beyond, and then the all the stuff that Morrison wrote, basically.
The stuff that Morrison wrote is the series. Superman Beyond's not really a tie-in, because that story doesn't make sense without it. But, more along the lines of, Aftermath, Dance, Escape, Rogue's Revenge, Revelations, like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I haven't actually gone back to that. I should.
I still think DC rebooted just so they could use the word crisis again.
Probably.
Yeah. No, okay. So there's our 3 out there: Batman Noel, Doom Patrol, and Joker's Last Laugh. Consensus among any of us who has the best pick for our number 10 slot?
Well, because Batman and Joker get so much exposure, I'm kind of leaning towards Doom Patrol.
And I think that Batman Noel probably lends itself best to a 70-minute feature film, and I think that the prospects of it being a Christmas story kind of give it a nice little novelty.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. It would have to just completely change the animation style, the way they do stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that would affect the story itself.
See, here's the thing with
the artist and writer on that.
Yeah, so here's the thing with that. The art style is not a given for that story, but there are moments, right? Superman's the ghost of Christmas Present. And when Superman flies down and you see him, radiating red, there's a very particular effect it has that you don't get if you didn't have that art, but that's only one example in an entire book, and the rest of it isn't really that way.
Mm-hmm.
At most, I would want to see that moment animated, and you really can't.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's a tightrope to walk about the animation style on that, but I tend to agree. I would like to see that kind of animation, or I would like to see that story, even though I haven't read it. But I don't know. My personal pick is still Joker's Last Laugh, but yeah, I think consensus here is Batman Noel for number 10. Okay, Steve, what's your number 3?
So my number 3 is a run I really, really like that I think you can truncate into 75 minutes really easily. It's Paul Dini's Zatanna from, what was it, 2010, 2011, something like that. It's a 16-issue run, but it's kind of just one story with lots of meandering plots in the middle. Not that they're bad, it's just the beginning, middle, and end of this story is a story about Zatanna, her brother, and her father. And if you just made the focus that, I think it'd be fantastic. Zatanna is one of my favorite characters of all time. I love her. I think she's just one of the most deeply interesting characters, and she's had one of the most interesting connections to Golden Age history, where they didn't reboot her, they didn't ignore the fact that there was a Zatanna type character in the Golden Age. They just kind of ran with it and gave her a lineage. I love her. I think she's fantastic. So seeing her in animation again would be cool, but also just focusing on her as she's a performer, and there's a different level of magic that you don't see typically with the Dr. Fate type characters or the Doctor Strange type characters, where she has to say things that you could literally hear her say something in reverse and then rewind what you're watching so that you understand what she said and that particular thing happens. There's a different kind of engagement with that, and It's a magical magician fighting zombies dealing with personal drama. That's the coolest thing ever.
It totally is. It almost you say Dini's Zatanna, I kind of almost want Morrison's Seven Soldiers, because Zatanna was amazing in that, too.
See, Seven Soldiers I want to be a TV miniseries about.
Gotcha. No, but I could see it, man. Zatanna just... I need some more Zatanna in my life.
She kicks ass. I love her. She's cool.
She's really awesome, and she's always relegated to supporting role.
Yep.
I'd really like to see her in the lead. That'd be nice.
Yeah, like I've been saying this for frickin' ever. The League needs a consistent magic user as part of the main base, and the Hawks are fucking useless anyway, so please get rid of the Hawks and put Zatanna on the team as the standard 7th.
And Doctor Fate is moody as fuck, so like Zatanna makes perfect sense.
Zatanna's just got a cool factor that Dr. Fate does not. I am sorry. Well, Dr. Fate, I don't know who was created first, but Dr. Fate feels like a copy of Doctor Strange, whereas Zatanna feels very fresh.
Zatanna's she's got a fun, bubbly personality. She is a performer. Like, her magic is unique. There's a whole angle of, like, her relationship with Constantine and Batman. Like, she's a cool, dynamic character that no one does anything with. That was kind of ruined by Identity Crisis until we kind of,
forgot about that.
Under the rug.
Get it? Because Identity Crisis was about forgetting, so we forgot about it. That story was...
Fun fact, have a DC Comics conversation with anyone long enough, and at some point someone will shit on Identity Crisis.
I've never heard anyone bring it up until just this moment.
Oh, that's interesting. Every conversation I've had about DC at some point will shit on Identity Crisis. Not that I hate that story, but...
Oh, man, maybe I've just never heard of it, or never, read it, so maybe people make references to it that I don't even get. I just know it's stupid. I remember hearing the premise, Zatanna makes villains forget their memories. That's stupid!
Well, okay, so it's more complicated than that. It's like Dr. Light rapes elongated man... Not elongated. It's one of the other superheroes' wives, and then, the whole superhero community goes nuts, and then Zatanna, warps his head so he becomes a bumbling idiot, but then Batman finds out, so she, makes him forget. It's a soap opera. It's written by Brad Meltzer. It's really interesting, but not necessarily good. I don't know. It's complicated.
No, just no. Okay. Connor, how about you? What's your number 3?
My number 3 would be an anthology film, because I think we need a little bit more of those. And it would all be based on Jack Kirby's Fourth World.
Yes! Oh my fucking god, I want that so much.
There'd be no Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, no Justice League integration whatsoever. I would think that we'd get maybe 4 stories. 2 of them focus on characters on Apocalypse. 2 of them would focus on people on New Genesis. We wouldn't see them going to war. It'd just kind of be about exploring the Fourth World. Jack Kirby's visual style is amazing, but I think it's simple enough to where you can make the jump to animation and not a whole lot will be lost in translation. Comics Kid 2099, who reviews the reviewers with me, said that his style brings to mind stuff like the Warner Brothers cartoons with Bugs Bunny, and you can sort of do something like that, but more angular and exaggerated.
I mean, it would be really interesting to see them go for the, animating Kirby. I've talked about this before, but I find Kirby to be someone who, I don't really care for his people that much. Just they're too blocky for me. But I love his environments and his objects, because he has just an absolute fascination with putting so much detail into things. And it's so cool to look at. Just, there's a fucking wall that he just paints a goddamn mural on it, and it's only in one panel. Yeah. It's just shit like that. He got very meticulous on, and just so much of what he did was with geometry and volumetrics. I would have loved to see Jack Kirby work with 3D. I've mentioned 3D already, but that was just as an out. If you were to do a Jack Kirby animated film, I would love to see it in 3D, because I think there are things that would actively lend themselves to Jack Kirby's style in that.
And I'm thinking more traditional 2D animation, but 3D would be a cool tool.
Steve, were you about to say something?
No, I just said I absolutely agree. Is there any specific character that you want adapted in one of these anthologies? Because, Light Ray and Orion will be my two goes.
Well, Orion's an obvious choice. I love Orion a lot. And I think that you'd have to do like an Orion Highfather story, but mostly an Orion thing. I haven't really thought much of it, but the Fourth World is so expansive that you could really find anyone on either side.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, a Bug story, why not? I love Bug. He's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotcha. It'd be interesting to see them just kind of like take the original Fourth World Omnibus and just work around parts of that. Just to do like the Orion comes to Earth and, because Kirby even only put Superman in there just to help, like, sell his stuff.
Yeah.
So, I think there is a workaround where you don't need Superman for that original story, too.
I agree. Yeah, I just want to keep any and all, like, recognizable superheroes out of it. I want this to be the hipster Jack Kirby movie.
While we're on this topic, DC fucking reprint those Fourth World Omnibuses. Come on.
Please. There's only one paperback Fourth World Omnibus that I ever saw at a comic book shop. That's obviously out of circulation. So
they haven't printed those in... No, fuck, you know what this is? The last time they printed those was like 2008 or 2009. It's been almost 10 years.
Wow.
What the hell?
Damn. I feel old.
Right? And I remember because this was like around the Dark Knight time when I first saw these come up on Amazon. I didn't buy them because I was an idiot.
Yeah. You were a fool. No, but Connor, I'm totally with you because I've been watching through Superman the Animated Series and they're building up to all the Apocalypse stuff, and I just got to the first time that Superman and Darkseid meet, and Superman's all like, "Who are you?" and Darkseid just Omega beams the shit out of him, and he's like, "That is who I am," and then fucking leaves. It was so perfect.
I love their Darkseid so much.
That is the best introduction of Darkseid and Superman ever.
Well, if we could also maybe get the voice actor from Super Friends to do Darkseid, that would also be great, because that's the best Darkseid voice ever.
No.
No?
No.
I mean, I don't know. Weird Al voiced Darkseid once. Maybe that's the best ever.
You'll probably crucify me for it. I loved the Darkseid and Batman, Superman, Apocalypse. I love that voice.
Who was that?
I'm pretty sure
it's recognizable.
I'm pretty sure it's the same guy that played the General in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
Is that who that is? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I know I'm like reasonably sure that guy did voice Darkseid at one point. I'm not entirely sure if it was in that movie, but these things are in my mind. So no, I'm on a Fourth World kick as well. Again, and last time that happened, I 3D printed a Metron chair, so
which was a really cool project.
Yeah, that was fun. It was like I spent 2 days in the library, but whatever.
Darkseid was in Brave and the Bold. I remember liking that voice a lot.
Gotcha. Okay, I guess I'll kick in with mine here. And this is something that, like, technically we don't even need because I did it, but I'd still love to see it, like, fully animated. And that is Aren't You Glad It's Christmas? The Larfleeze Christmas special.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I love that story so much. It fits so perfectly into the whole Christmas spirit thing. And I don't know, man. It requires very, very little context. I wouldn't want it stretched to 75 minutes, but I would love for like a DC Christmas special to come out and have that be like do like a 3-part DC Christmas special and have that be one of the things as just like a 20-minute thing. It could air on television every year or something. That would be ideal.
Just go back and do like another one of those Superman, Shazam, Black Adam things where like you have a bunch of shorts and one a little bit longer.
Yep, that would be perfect.
Yeah, you could have a whole Christmas anthology.
Yeah, I'd love it, man. It is such a damn good story. It's got, Jeff Johns knows how to write when he really commits to it. And, man, that story is just so well seated. It sets everything up perfectly. It gets you right. It just, kicks you in the heart. At the end, it's got one of these saddest endings. And I don't know, maybe it's just me being such a doubter, but I need more Christmas things that aren't happy endings. I really love that about it. It had the smarts to be a bit sad, because, hey, not everyone's super happy on the holidays.
I mean, especially when you talk about a character like Larfleeze, it wouldn't make sense to give him a happy ending.
Yeah, totally. So, I don't know, I think that could be just beautifully tragic. It would be a fantastic... And it's tragic, but it still has a lesson, which is nothing's more valuable to family. I really like that.
Yeah.
There's just so many layers to it that I think would really, really work, and it would be great to see adapted. Again, I wouldn't want it as a full thing, but I would love to see it happen.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I haven't read that story, but I watched your motion comic on it, and I really liked that.
Yeah, God, Andre did such an amazing job as Larfleeze. I just need to find someone who animates, 2D animation, and, tell them to just take my thing and do it. Just, here's your audio, now animate to it, because that's how that works.
Just animate to that, you've got the storyboard in comic form, it's all possible.
I mean, it kind of is. I don't know, I really, really like that story. It's the perfect mix of fun and heartfelt, and that's just, it's great. It's like a Christmas story, but if a Christmas story had a really, really teary up ending, you know? And so that just works for me. I don't have much else beyond that. I'm just it's a damn good story, guys.
No, I agree with you.
Okay, Steve, what's your number 2 then?
So, speaking of Identity Crisis, I'm going to talk about the Identity Crisis that no one remembers exists. So, back in the 90s, there was a Batman story from Batman 455 to 457 called Identity Crisis, which is a Batman Scarecrow Tim Drake story. I don't know if it's in print ever. It might be, it might not be. But essentially the story is, and if you've seen Powerless is an okay show with one of the best intros for a TV show ever. And the intro is basically famous comic book covers, then zoom in on one of the audience members and it's the cast member. It's genius. I love it. But if you've seen the Powerless intro, there's a particular Batman cover on there where Batman's leaping down and there's these skull-faced people. That's this story.
Huh.
So, basic premise of this is Tim Drake is now sort of the replacement. He hasn't gone around the world to train yet. He hasn't put on the Robin costume yet. But, he's on his path to becoming Robin. It's post-Lonely Place of Dying, all that. And Tim Drake's whole thing with this is that he wants to be useful to Batman, useful to Batman, but he doesn't want to wear the Robin costume. He has kind of a phobia of it because it has too much weight. That, Jason's costume was his, Dick's costume was his. Who is Tim to put that suit on? And that's kind of his whole arc through it. While at the same time, Batman's trying to talk to Tim about this because Batman had his own identity crisis in the sense that he lost himself without Jason. Now he's got a replacement, so now he's trying to be more fatherly to Tim about how he appreciates how much he's doing, and that he doesn't need the Robin costume to be useful to Batman. And then the Scarecrow part of this is that Scarecrow has a new fear toxin that makes people afraid, makes people not afraid. It literally is the opposite of all of his other fear toxins because the whole point is no one's afraid of anything happening to them, so they go nuts and start looting and shooting the crap out of each other.
Did they adapt that for an episode of Batman CAS, or at least that part of the plot?
Kind of, yeah. They did that for one of the later Scarecrow episodes. It's not quite the same, but it's kind of there. This might even have been before the story was published, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the 90s. It might have been around that time period. Maybe. I don't know. So the Scarecrow part of that is that, and then Scarecrow captures Batman, and Scarecrow has a whole thing about, like, how both Batman and him use fear, and that the difference between Batman and Scarecrow is that Scarecrow's use of fear is more noble, because at least he's doing it for intellectual pursuit. Batman just does it to be terrifying and beat the crap out of people. It's a really cool reversal of that, and Tim has to overcome his fear to, like, overcome his fear of being Robin to help Batman, and he does it without putting on the costume, and he gets his costume at the end of the story. It's just a really good 3-issue, short but extremely layered, like father-son Scarecrow story, and it's got a very different dynamic to it because Tim's parents are still alive at this point. It's just an interesting place in continuity. It's a really interesting one-shot story. You don't really need a lot of context for it other than Tim is trying to become Robin, and Batman went over the deep end without Jason. Like, that would be your setup. Hell, you could make it, in some ways, a sequel to Under the Red Hood if you wanted to.
Yeah, that could be interesting, and I would do anything to get Bruce Greenwood back as Batman because he was amazing.
I agree. I really love the story. It's one of my favorite Batman stories. I think it'd make a fantastic short animated movie.
Yeah, I love that about it. That sounds really interesting. Just a quick little, hey, yeah, here's Batman versus the Scarecrow, but hey, there's all this character dimension to it. Yay!
Yeah, it's not an earth-shattering story. It's not a big event. It's not a thing anyone remembers. It's just another day in the life of Batman, and I think that's kind of the best part about it.
Yeah, totally.
I wish we had more stories like that, too. Maybe
You've
framing
got about
it...
75 years of comics to look through to find some. I think
Yeah.
you're good.
I just don't like that we treat every single Batman story like an event, so...
Mm-hmm. That is a problem nowadays.
But if you frame that as the sequel to Under the Red Hood, that would generate interest. And I think having a more character-focused Tim Drake story would make more fans of Tim Drake, because Tim Drake's one of the best Robins, so...
He is the best Robin.
I don't know, I'm partial to Damian, but...
I love Damian, but Tim is the best.
But Damian can beat Tim up, so...
No, he can't. No, he can't. People say he can. No, he can't. Although, another honorable mention before I put this story on there was the Robin miniseries by Chuck Dixon, where he travels around the world and gets trained by Lady Shiva. I just figured a Batman Scarecrow Tim story would have a better selling point than just Tim running around with Lady Shiva.
Again, no one at DC is going to watch this. You had absolutely no requirements.
No, I know, but, like, I don't know. I feel like this is a more exciting, and because that's like a 6-issue story. This is a 3-issue story. It seems like it makes more sense for 75 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay, how about you, Connor? What's your number 2?
Before I get into number 2, I think the Ghoul's severed head with a grenade in it does differ with Damian beating up Tim. So my number 2 is going... You'd have to streamline this a lot because this was a month-long event where every single title tied into this, and it was a story arc in Morrison's JLA run. It is DC 1 Million.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Mostly, you know what, I would even settle for just a little solo story about the Batman of the 853rd century, where he is the warden of Arkham Planet, essentially, which is basically just Pluto, which has been transformed into a prison, and he's the warden, and he has a robot Robin that accompanies him. If you guys are unfamiliar with DC 1 Million, basically the gimmick is 1 million months after the first issue of Action Comics number 1 would place the DC Universe 1 million months ahead of that would be the 853rd century. So all the books jumped to issue number 1 million. So you had Batman number 1 million, Detective Comics number 1 million, Nightwing number 1 million, Robin number 1 million, and these stories either worked as a character showpiece for the individual character, whether it be the Batman, the Wonder Woman, the Hourman, the Starman, what have you. Because this was actually during James Robinson's Starman run. And the Starman is really cool in the 853rd century. But or it would serve as a single issue that was kind of on carrying on the overall story of 1 Million. It's a really fun, a wacky time travel story. There are elements that actually sort of seed stuff that Morrison does later in All-Star Superman, with it's actually the reason the Justice Legion Alpha, which is the JLA of the 853rd century, comes back in time to visit the 90s JLA, is because the original Superman is coming out of the sun for the first time. And if you've read All-Star Superman, he goes into the sun at the end, and I think that's pretty neat. Also, Solaris is the villain, and Vandal Savage is also the villain. So there's more reason to like it.
Vandal Savage is the villain.
Yeah, but Solaris, the sentient star, or the evil star, what have you, I love that as a concept, and Superman fighting a living sun is always great.
Isn't Solaris the Sun Eater, or is that something else?
I think that's something else. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't remember. I know the Sun Eater is a thing.
Yeah. I think that's the Star Killer base from Force Awakens.
Unicron from Transformers?
No, that's a Planet Eater. Right? No, maybe? I don't know.
No, yeah. I don't know Transformers that well. No, whatever.
Yeah. Dude, no, I agree. I'd love to see far future DC stuff.
Yeah.
If like someone asked me this during one of my Q&As on comic reviews at one point, like if someone just handed me the keys to the DC universe, I could do whatever I wanted with it, like they did with Margaret Bennett and DC Bombshells, like with very little restriction. She could just do whatever, just use these character designs, and she totally ran with it. I said I would love to do a far future DC where like the only original character from DC is, Wonder Woman, and she hasn't aged at all except in her mind.
That would be really cool.
Just like the grandmother figure of the modern DC universe. You had like, Flash. You have guys who use the Speed Force that want nothing to do with the Flash. Because they like disapprove of the way he used time travel or some shit like that. I don't know. I think it'd be just fun as hell to do very far future DC universe. Not necessarily like Superman like someone taking up the Superman mantle. And I think that trope in particular is maybe done a little too much. But just I would like to see the universe that exists after these characters. But yeah, I agree. Far future DC could be really cool to play with, even if it's the standard DC 1 Million adaptation.
Yeah, but also I think DC 1 Million has a lot of wacky zaniness that is just a lot of fun that could translate well. And you could also bring in Impulse, and that's always fun, because Mark Waid writing Flash and Impulse is good.
Okay. Alright, I'll go on to my number 2, which is also a Morrison thing. I'm surprised that like the whole list wasn't Morrison things. When what I did for this is I wrote down a top 10 and then had to eliminate from there. But number 2, I reread it tonight to confirm my decision, and yeah, it's the greatest thing ever. But it does come with a caveat. It would not be 1 animated DC film, it would be 2, but that's okay because they've already done it. And so I would do JLA Rock of Ages.
Oh my god, that'd be the coolest thing ever. I love Rock of Ages so much. That is definitively the best Justice League story.
Yeah, pretty much. The first movie would end when Aquaman, Green Lantern, and Flash get back to Earth, but they're 15 years too late. Mm-hmm. That's when the first movie would end. So the first movie would be all the Lex Luthor and Justice Gang stuff. And then the second movie would, it'd be shortened a little bit because I do think it's kind of maybe a little overwritten in places. But as far as just to work on its own without the wider context of Morrison's run. But, man, just everything about that arc is so fucking cool. I don't know what it is with Grant Morrison, but he's the only writer who gets away with destroying the universe. Consistently. He did it in Rock of Ages. He did it in Final Crisis. He did it in Multiversity. He keeps destroying the universe.
That's his thing. Destroying the universe is how the universe keeps going. It makes perfect sense.
Exactly. I don't know, man. it's such a cool story. You get a Darkseid story where they're actually able to truly defeat Darkseid, and you kill Darkseid in that. That's really cool. I would love to see that in, animation. And Darkseid has so many good-ass lines and just gives those amazing, bone-chilling speeches in Rock of Ages. It'd be heavenly to hear that. And from professional actor and all that stuff, it'd be amazing to see Darkseid just stepping on the last flower on New Genesis, stuff like that. It's so cool.
So I don't remember the story because it's been a while since I've read it. Because Ed Morrison's Justice League just always had this problem of randomly altering team members because of annoying DC things at the time. Was this during Superman Red and Blue, or was this when Hippolyta was Wonder Woman? What was the fuck up of the team this time? I forget.
This was Energy Superman, and Azteca was still a member of the League at the time.
Oh, okay, that's what that was. All right.
And he actually does play kind of an important role in the story, but you could switch him out for anybody, honestly.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. If Morrison could go back in time and rewrite that run, he would, streamline the fuck out of that team.
Oh, yeah, because, his whole thing was, no, we're good. Hold on, I fucked up. No, what we're going to do is gonna make it just the very basic Justice League. We're just gonna put the Batman, the Superman, Wonder Woman. It's gonna be the all-star cast of the Justice League. And DC's all like, yeah, see, that's just too good an idea. Can't you get some B-listers that no one's going to remember in 5 years and put them in, super important roles on your book? But that kind of misses the whole point of the book. Yeah, I get that you have this idea here, but here's the thing. We need money. That.
Every arc in that book, there's always someone on that team. We're like, wait, who the fuck are you again?
Yeah, it's Hippolyta, Wonder Woman, and Energy Superman, and fucking Azteca's there. Azteca is the weirdest fucking character because he just shows he shows up in the middle of Rock of Ages, and there's a little fucking editor's note. Azteca joined the Justice League in Azteca number 10. And at the end of Rock of Ages, he's like, I'm not going to be in the Justice League anymore. And so it's just so fucking... That is completely superfluous shit. But I don't care, because the story's still amazing. Oh, man. Yeah, Energy Superman's the weirdest thing ever still, but nothing about what he does is, super necessary. There's, 2 moments where it goes, oh, I'm using my new powers, but, okay, I feel like Superman could handle this in literally any other way with his old powers, so we're good. We can streamline this for animation and make it fine.
Yeah, I figured you'd have a workaround there somewhere, because, there's a lot of really good stuff in that run in general. There's that Adam Strange story that's really, really good, but, part of the problem is just you need context.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a Sandman crossover at one point in that. I was talking about that the other day on Comic Reviews. Someone was asking who the Green Lantern of Krypton's sector was and what the fuck he was doing. I'm like, oh, it's Tomar Ray. He fucked up. He didn't get there in time.
There's a lot of stories about that. People think there aren't, but there are.
Oh, yeah. It's in the beginning of... I'm echoing Steve. It's in the beginning of one of the issues of American Dreams. You have Tomar Ray crash lands on Krypton and gives the ring to Kal-El. It's really cool. Anyway, Tomar Ray fucked up big time. What can you do? Anyway. No, Rock of Ages, just everything about that is amazing, and it's the best Justice League story ever. And I want to see something go back to it, because it has the Injustice Gang as a subplot. That's awesome. It has this amazing Joker moment where the Joker gets a hold of a reality warping device and starts using it just immediately to destroy the Earth for fun. And then the Martian Manhunter reworks his mind so that he's able to make rational decisions, and the Joker's just like, oh my god, I'm a monster. That's such a cool moment.
I remember that. That was so cool.
Yeah, it's so fucking fascinating. And you hear Morrison talk about that to this day. He's like, well, Martian Manhunter, he can he can reshape his mind into anything because the rest of his body is changeable, so is his mind. So he could warp his mind into the shape of the Joker's and experience things the way the Joker does. And it's like, I would never think of that, Grant Morrison. Thank you for taking all the LSD so you could. That's the thing, is I was reading through that, and there's like this section called Wonder World where they're looking for the Philosopher's Stone, and they get to just a scale of the universe where, like, fucking God knows what's going on with these characters. They're gigantic, cosmic beings, all on, like, the same scale as Galactus or some shit, and they're talking about the anti-sun coming to destroy the multiverse. And Aquaman's like, listen, we don't know what the fuck's going on. We gotta get back to Earth and deal with our shit. And that's just cool. I don't know, I love that stuff. I don't know if you'd need the Wonder World stuff. If anything, you could probably cut that, but I'd still want to see it. I'm a Morrison fanboy. I'll take anything you can give me. It's weird that the only thing we've adapted of his has been All-Star Superman, because there's a lot that he's left his stamp on in DC.
Well, I know Bruce Timm a couple years ago said he really wanted to do Batman R.I.P.
Oh my word.
I don't think you should do that way.
Yeah, no. You make it an ongoing series.
Yeah, you would need to do Grant Morrison's Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I've always had two ideas for a Batman TV show, and it's do a 100-episode TV series where every episode is beginning to end Nightfall, and then do another TV series that's 100 episodes beginning to end Morrison's Batman. Yeah,
I agree with both those things. But yeah, so there's JLA Rock of Ages, I am the Alpha, I am the Omega, I am Darkseid, Darkseid is. Hashtag Darkseid is. Just anytime someone has a question for you and you don't know the answer, just tell them Darkseid is. What's the square root of pi?
He is the Tiger Force at the heart of all things.
Exactly. What's the square root of pi? Darkseid is. Do you know who the Secretary of Defense is? Darkseid is.
You're probably not wrong.
I mean, with this White House, of course. Political. Yeah. We
gotta have a rim shot effect at some point.
Eventually, if I wasn't so fucking lazy, I could totally do it. And I'm just...
That's work.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, Steve, take us in. What's your number one?
So my number one is from 1988, the 4-issue Deadshot miniseries by John Ostrander. This is one of the best comics I've ever read in my entire life. I think it's brilliant on every level. Deadshot is, without a doubt, my favorite villain in the entire DC universe. So the Deadshot miniseries, for people that don't know, it's basically Deadshot, quote-unquote, goes rogue, kind of. That's a whole thing with the Suicide Squad ongoing. Because his wife calls him, and their kid's been kidnapped, so he goes on a mission to go find his kid, and this is before the whole modern thing of, like, Deadshot has a daughter he didn't know about that he gives money to. Like, that's not that. This is before that. So it's, like, a very different particular kid he had. It's just a really twisted story trying to explore Deadshot's backstory, and Deadshot's backstory is one of the most fascinating things about him because he grew up in a rich family and he had an older brother named Eddie, and his older brother, everyone loved him, and he was like the greatest kid ever, and a lot of people thought that Floyd was like jealous of him, but that wasn't really the case. Floyd idolized his brother more than anyone did, and there was a whole thing with like his mom was being bitten by her dad, so she told Eddie to take a gun and kill his dad, and then Floyd didn't want his brother to kill his father, so he got a gun and wanted to like shoot his gun out of his hand, but he missed because the branch broke and he killed his own brother, and it's so fucked up. It's so Shakespearean, and like Deadshot says nothing throughout most of the story. Like he's just Terminator mode, and then he takes his mask off at the end of the story, and he's just in fucking tears, and he's an emotional wreck, and it's just, it's so good. There's a brilliant moment where, like, that really emphasizes the kind of character Deadshot is when he's got his costume on, where, like, someone gets him in a warehouse and, like, has a person hostage, and they're like, well, if you want us to believe that you're going to help us, I need you to kill this person. And Deadshot's like, okay, and murders the crap out of him. And then the guy's like, no, I didn't actually mean kill him.
Well, you, sir, are being very obtuse.
And then, like, Deadshot's like, well, you shouldn't have told me to do it then. Like, it's a fucked up story, and it's emotionally fucked up. It's kind of, like, plot-wise kind of fucked up, and, like, Deadshot's kid gets molested, and Deadshot murders the guy that did it, and the guy that did it was, like, kind of mentally unstable. Like, there's so much kind of Shakespearean-level insanity going on in this story. It doesn't have, like, any one particular art style, so you could animate it anyway. It's really kind of minimalistic, but it's just long enough to stretch that 75-minute mark. And then on top of that, you could spin this into, like, a Suicide Squad thing, or you can't. You have free reign with this, because it's not refined, it's not connected to Suicide Squad in that way. After this miniseries, Ostrander finds his voice for that series, and that series gets better, and, like, it pulls from things within this story, but it's not like it's required on either end. It's just a good story beginning, middle to end. It's one of my favorites. Deadshot's got a whole thing about, like, who he is when he puts the costume on, and the Suicide Squad ongoing does a thing later where someone steals his costume, and the person that steals it is obviously a horrible shot, and Deadshot could kill him anytime he wants, but, like, Deadshot's on the ropes that whole fight because he literally has to shoot himself because he's seeing his costume move around independently, and, like, he shoots himself in the head. And so, like, for the rest of that series, he's walking around in a Deadshot costume with a hole in its head because he had to shoot it. And a lot of that stuff comes from this story where, like, who he is and who the Deadshot persona is and what it means to personify a bullet, all of that, like, comes from this. Deadshot's got a very particular way of looking at the world that comes from the story where he's like, there are good people and there are bad people, but if there can't really be good people if there aren't bad things in the world to contrast them, and, like, in a lot of ways, Deadshot kind of wants to take that burden and just kind of be the most unfiltered bad possible. So you can have unfiltered good. It's really interesting. I love it.
Oh, man. Yeah. And, see, Deadshot's a character I think you could actually have that happen with. Whether or not they do that story is a good question, but Deadshot is a popular enough character now. Isn't Will Smith talking about trying to get a solo film?
Yeah, there's talk of a Deadshot spinoff.
So, because this is DC Animation we're talking about, do you think they're going to have him say, I don't speak good guy?
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't know. Deadshot is getting to be more and more of a popular character, and I wonder what that says about us, but whatever.
Well, and particularly a watered-down version of Deadshot. And that's kind of what bothers me.
Yeah, it's not like the version that's reflective on, hey, violence isn't a good thing. It's the version on, oh, wow, this guy's really cool because he can kill people really good.
And, I mean, this is a recent phenomenon. In 2005, Christos Gage did a Deadshot miniseries where Deadshot found out he had this daughter, and so his entire mission at that point was clean up this neighborhood as much as possible. But this was a neighborhood within Star City, so, like, he had a conversation with Green Arrow about this, about, like, how Deadshot going around in Punisher-style murdering people might not necessarily work. And it's the most DC thing ever, where, like, they're both sitting in a diner in full costume having coffee and pancakes talking about the morality of killing people. It's fantastic.
Yep, you gotta love that. I was reading in Rock of Ages, Kyle and Connor Hawke are just fucking sitting in a cafe in full costume discussing their, like, feelings of being on the Justice League.
I love shit like that. That's my favorite.
Oh, it's the best thing. Yeah, we need that in the DC cinematic universe badly.
Yes, more costumes.
Yeah, more costume, just casual costume conversations in public. You know, it's a thing that needs to be around more.
Hell, Marvel needs to do more of that, because that would make the Marvel Universe feel more like at home.
Yeah, I can agree with that, too. Okay, Connor, what's your number 2?
Okay.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Oh, yeah, number 1. Sorry, number 1.
So, I, like you, Ian, pretty much just had a bunch of Morrison stuff. And I just put in the Jack Kirby's Fourth World anthology because I thought that'd be a nice, cool thing to not be Morrison. And my Doom Patrol thing was Gerard Way's Doom Patrol, but that's heavily inspired by Morrison. So I had to go. I had 2 ideas for Morrison Batman, and one of them would be my favorite story arc from the Morrison Batman initial run, which is where it's Batman and the other Batmen stranded on the island, Agatha Christie's
Black
Island.
Love.
I love that story, but I decided to go against that, and I would do something. It's not one story; it's more inspired by the Batman number 666 future with Damian Wayne as Batman. I think this would be really cool because Andy Kubert is an artist that I absolutely love, and I think that his art style would make a nice transition to animation. I also think the colors are neat. I really think the heaven and hell overtones really give it a unique tone, and I think that you have to get a good writer to make this all like tasteful and smart as opposed to just going for shock, but I think that you can do really cool stuff with this.
Okay, I could dig it. Connor doesn't seem to understand the rules of this video. There were very few, but I'm giving him a lot of rope, and he's going to hang us all with it. Because I'm like, stories that you would adapt. And he goes, Fourth World anthology that doesn't adapt to anything specific, just Fourth World anthology. And he's like, story spinning off of one single comic. Doesn't have to be the story of that comic, but story spinning off of one single comic.
Damian Batman's kind of popular for some reason. I mean, I think Damian Batman's awesome, and I love his costume, but like, I didn't think that singular issue was going to take off the way it kind of has. We're planning a video game around this now.
Oh,
wait,
really?
What, serious?
Yeah. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. It might be like the Flash game where he just gets canned, but like, Damian Batman video game is a thing now.
Interesting. Huh. I remember seeing a cosplay of like something inspired by the Damian Wayne Batman. It's that fucking coat with the collar. Again,
so
Batman
cool.
is just white Zorro. I swear to God he is. It's just that fucking high collar, man. That's what people like.
But it's also like
really
the lower
cool,
part of his trench coat has like the bat like cut to it. It's really cool.
It's a badass costume. I love it.
So cool.
Yeah.
And I love that his cat's name is Alfred.
It's so nuts. Oh, it's so cool. And he's got all the scars, and he's bald. I really like it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there like shit just going fucking sideways in that issue and the city's about to blow up or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you could just do, that's the end of your movie. That's Act 3 right there.
Yes.
You're welcome. I've made it work. No, but yeah, I could totally see a Damian Wayne Batman movie, because Damian is just a character that's blown up in popularity. It seems like this is what we do with Robins. It's like we create a Robin for like every successive generation, and to each generation that's their Robin, until they're not cool anymore, so we create a new one.
But they're not cool initially. Everyone hates them at first, but then they start.
Yeah, because it's the old generation reading them, and then he gets popular.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could see a Damian Wayne Batman movie actually getting made. You know, we kind of sort of got not the Damian Wayne Batman, but Brave and the Bold did an episode with Damian and Dick, which was kind of cool.
That was an episode called like Knights of Tomorrow or something like that, where like it was Bruce Wayne got married to Selena Kyle, and they had Damian, and Dick became Batman, and then Damian had to like lose both of his parents and become Robin, and then Joker had a kid who wasn't really his kid, and then flash forward even further into the future where Damian had a kid. Like it was a story Alfred concocted of how he wants the Batman legacy to continue. It was really cool.
Yeah, it made no sense, but it was awesome.
I love that
yeah, I
show.
don't know.
That is the second best Batman show, although technically the best because there is not a single bad episode.
I don't think that good is an algorithm, Steve.
No, I know. Still think Beware the Batman is the best Batman show, but like, it's hard to argue with anyone that says Brave and the Bold is the best because there's literally not a single bad episode.
Again, good is not a ratio. It's like this one has this many good. I don't care if it has overwhelmingly good episodes. That does not make the entire series the best thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, there's bad episodes of The Twilight Zone, but I still prefer The Twilight Zone to Breaking Bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fucking Damian Wayne Batman would just be like, because you could do really dark shit, and yeah, we were talking about this earlier with R-rated stuff would be neat. R-rated Batman movies. I don't know if I want to see anything else R-rated that's not Batman related. I guess maybe the question.
Question would have to be R-rated, yes.
Okay. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure I'd need much else. I'd like to see the Damian Wayne Batman movie that's set in the, what is it? Batman Superman number 100. Because it's a really brief scene, but you got Damian Wayne and the Superboy of that time, that version of Superboy, in the future, looking at a statue of Bruce and Clark, Batman, Superman, and thinking about like how they just don't measure up as the ones that are taking on this legacy. And Damian just says as like a brief note, he's like, Terry's a good kid and he works as hard as he can. I'm like, I want that. I want Terry McGinnis working with Damian Wayne Batman. That's the greatest thing ever.
Cool. That would be cool.
It's like a really brief line, and it's just Morrison tried his best to make everything work, because that was when they're like, oh no, Batman Beyond's totally in continuity with the rest of the DC universe. It's when they were trying to finagle that thing, do all the backflips needed for that one. A gymnast wrote that book, if you couldn't tell. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I don't have much else to say about Damian Wayne Batman besides, yes, that would be a cool thing. We cool with going on to mine?
Yes, go for it.
Go for it.
Okay. My number one. There'd be a lot of trimming. It wouldn't be every single issue of this series, but DC Comics bombshells. DC Comics bombshells from the beginning till the Battle of Britain is where it would definitely end at the Battle of Britain. But from the beginning to, Kate Kane going off to war, Wonder Woman discovering Steve Trevor, Supergirl and Stargirl being discovered by the Soviets, that'd be the start of it, and it would go all the way until they all meet up for the Battle of Britain, and we get that amazing panel of Kate Kane saying, hey, how about a Justice League of our own? I love that so much, and then we'd get the proper Battle of Britain and the teary-eyed moment of Stargirl sacrificing herself, because, God, I love DC Comics bombshells. It is one of the best things ever.
It's easily one of the best things DC's published in a long-ass time.
I still need to read that, but I hear you every month talk about that, and I think I might check out the first trade.
It's digital first, right?
Yes, and Cap and I had a whole conversation about this, but yes, it is a very good series. It is incredibly good. It's woke as fuck, bro.
That's all I needed to hear.
Yep. It's one of those things where, like, it shouldn't be as smart. It has no right to be as good as it is, because just everything about that series is going against it, but it somehow manages to just be amazing. Because, like, okay, it's a series spun out of fucking statues. That
really
shouldn't
sexist
work.
statues.
It is, but at the same time, there's, like, a cool factor to it, right?
No, I know, but, like, the fact that Bombshells was a good series makes it cool. Just the statues on their own are a problem.
I tend to think so too, but then you just look into the history of how it all got rolling, and it kind of just works. Because that's an aesthetic and an idea that, like, is kind of neat. I mean, you know, Wonder Woman being the launcher of the line is based off Rosie the Riveter, who is a symbol of feminism. I don't know.
But there's a lot of critiques with why Rosie the Riveter is a poor symbol for feminism.
I mean, sure, but there's no arguing with the fact that she is one. And I don't know, man. Like that series, the art design, at best, it should have been like this, like mildly uncomfortable kind of like fantasy thing, but then it turned into something amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And the fact that it is very sexualized and everything just works for it. It's just there's no apologetics for the fact that they are drawn incredibly attractively. There's no like sidestepping around that. It is part of the story. It embraces that and it loves that about itself. It helps that you have a queer woman writing the book.
Yeah.
But I think that's something we desperately need it for wider audiences because, as much to my chagrin, not enough people read comics. So I would love to see the world react to the mostly lesbian and or bisexual Justice League team. That would be great. Like just even characters that like it adds nothing to the story. They're just let's make them lesbians. It's totally just thrown in there just because she feels like doing it. It's the greatest thing ever. And again, that can feel so shallow and predictable and trite, and it's not. It's refreshing as hell. And I don't know, man, it's great. Like Dr. Light and Big Barda just randomly kiss at the end of the battle, or toward the end of Battle of Britain. And you're like, oh, they're a thing. Okay, that's cool. And, you know, they get very little character development, but it's still cool to see them and have this, like, big emotional moment with them, even though you haven't seen them that much. And I would love to see that. And I would love to see, you know, the sacrifice of Stargirl is one of the saddest things I've seen in a comic book in a long time. And, you know, no one ever dies in comics, and this is a series where characters can be brought back to life because the main villain of the first volume are Nazi zombies. I truly don't think Stargirl's coming back.
I wouldn't want her to, the way that series is rolling.
Yeah, I truly don't believe Stargirl's coming back. Like, they just did a whole issue about accepting death. And that's... You know, it's comics, don't ever say never, especially when it's with a character that died, but... I really don't think that character's coming back, and that's something we need in comics. But again, that death scene, that sacrifice, is incredibly emotional, and I would like to see that. It's technically, you know, sequel bait or whatever, but you could write it in such a way where that is the last battle of the war if you didn't want to have to do a sequel or worry about a sequel. And, you know, It's Batman, it's Superman, but it's not, because it's Batwoman, it's Supergirl, it's, you know, all these characters that probably DC would never feel comfortable supporting their own movie, but you could bill it as kind of a Justice League thing. And I don't know, I think it'd be just amazing. And as a period piece, who doesn't love a good period piece?
Yeah, I like period pieces. I think the reason I haven't checked out Bombshells yet is because I've only ever read one thing that Marguerite Bennett has written, and I really didn't like it, so I'll have to check that out, though.
What did you read?
New 52, Batman Annual number 2.
I don't remember this.
It is the one where there's something new at Arkham Asylum, and then Batman's just there to test it, and Wes Craig does the art, and I do not like Wes Craig as an artist. I just really didn't like that whole issue.
Wait, is that the one with, like, the lady who's been in Arkham for, like, 100 years or something?
Yeah, that one. That
was written by Bennett? I could have sworn that was Snyder.
I think it was Snyder and Bennett, or, like, Snyder just did a back...
Well, that's Snyder's fault for being bad.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm getting
Batman.
Information from my brother that it was entirely written by Marguerite Bennett.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry, Spencer, do you want to say something or whatever?
I gotta look this up.
Bennett wrote it. It says story by Snyder, but the only reason why it says story by Snyder is because there's some, 2-panel thing where it alludes to Zero Year, and that's the only reason why Snyder's name is on it.
Huh. Weird. Yeah, I agree. That's a terrible issue. I don't know. She improved exponentially.
Yeah, and maybe it's also just one of those things where, comics are a really quick business where they'll get a writer, they'll ask a writer to come on in very, to say, in a week, just write out this thing. So maybe she didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. Maybe she was rushed into it. I don't know. But if she has her own creative control over this universe, and from what I hear, it's really good, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it is seriously, hey, here's the keys to your own DC universe. And that's kind of amazing. So, it's definitely just this amazing romp that you get to see this writer go through, and yeah, I just want to see that adapted, particularly with DC's track record lately with, not understanding how to do strong female characters in their films, but trying desperately and failing at it. So that would be a nice change of pace.
Mm-hmm.
If they could pull it off. And I've been saying it since the beginning, is I want to see this adapted. So there's our number one picks, ladies and germs, and gentlemen, and yeah. Steve.
Review topic?
Yes.
Well, I mentioned it, and we want to do more music anyway. Why don't we just do that album review? I don't know if you were recording before or after this, but let's review the Hatebreed album Supremacy, because I think it's really interesting, and it might be worth discussing on a deeper level just because it's got a really interesting message and a really fun and weird way to deliver it.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I am the Exile.
And I am the Santa.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.